Alright, so this should be a bit of a fun video, as I haven't really done one of these reaction sort of things before, but apparently I woke up today to a bunch of pings on Discord about a certain expose video about one of my opinions, so I thought this would be a lot of fun to react to. So this video is by Team 6K. Now, to get this out of the way real quick, I don't want to start any drama, don't want to start any beef, or don't go around attacking people or anything like that. Just thought it'd be kind of fun to react to this video because I don't often get videos made about me or about my shitty takes, so I just thought it'd be fun to react to it. I thought you guys might enjoy that. So that's what we're doing today. Reacting to a video called You're Wrong About Duel Links, YouTubers Exposed. Apparently though, I don't actually have enough clout to get my face in the thumbnail, which, you know, what can you do? Alright, let's get into it. Alright. God damn it. Now I'm giving the expose ad revenue as well. God damn it. 183 comments, oh boy. Alright, this better be a juicy video. So I haven't actually seen this yet. I saw a little bit of, I skimmed through it a little bit to make sure it was actually about me, but I haven't actually seen the actual, video yet, so let's check it out.
It confirmed that the new world for Duel Links is going to be Go Rush, which comes with a lot of issues that I can think of. So you can spend them all before the game goes into end of service in 2 months. The game is not dying anytime soon. Same usually. I really don't think it's the same.
Yeah, I can't have Duel Links as dying in quotation marks. There's no actual quote of me saying that. Come on, man.
I do not see how this will go well in any sense at all, even remotely. Actually, I'm not surprised.
I'm obviously heavily insinuating that, but
I'm just incredibly disappointed. I'm pretty sure we'll get an end of service by the end of the year.
End of service by the end of the year. What a quote. Alright, so shoutouts to Team 6K for actually going through an entire live stream and cutting out these quotes, because I didn't even make a video on this, so I'm surprised there was even anything about it at all. So just a little bit of, I guess, context. I am 100% overreacting a bunch in this. This was right after the news, like literally like an hour or so after the news dropped that we were going to be getting a brand new world and it was going to be Rush Duel guaranteed. After all the speculation about potential for a Chronicle world and other fun worlds for Duel Links, and then we got another Rush world. So I'm 100% overreacting a ton in this, but I do think it's from a very justified standpoint. Like, I do feel like when adding worlds to the game, that it's not really driving up actual hype for it and actually increasing the amount of people playing the game. It's just sort of letting it slowly fade off into just die off slowly. That just, I think to me that sucks. I hate to see it, and that's sort of where this whole viewpoint's coming from. I want them to add new worlds every year that actually add tons of hype, get tons of people excited, get the whole community involved, not worlds that don't really do anything for the game and keep it sort of stagnating till it dies. But that's just me. That's where my viewpoint's from, so that we get that out of the way. Actually, I'm not surprised. I'm just incredibly disappointed. I'm pretty sure we'll get an end of service by the end of the year. I also quite often say end of service world as a bit of a joke, but yeah, that's my viewpoint's from.
Everywhere you look in this community, you see people talking about how Duel Links is dying, how it's only a matter of time before we get an end of service announcement, how Konami doesn't care about this game, just generally every negative ass thing under the sun. This isn't the first time, bro. Every single era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a bunch of people.
Bro, this guy should see my comment section every time I try to upload a Rush video. You should, it is... yeah, I'm definitely not the only one. It's a very, fairly shared opinion.
That are utterly convinced that the game is dying. I like to call
I'll probably show one of my
people
videos
that are utterly convinced that the game is dying.
Oh my god.
I like to call
I'm pretty sure that video was actually defending it too, by the way. Defending it not dying, I'm pretty sure that video was, but anyway.
Doom posters, and let's be honest, all of us have had a time or two where we might have been a Doom poster.
Synchros are gonna kill the game,
people said, and the game kept going on anyway.
Synchros are fine, but Xyz are gonna kill the game,
people said.
Synchros and Xyz are fine, but pendulums are actually gonna kill the game this time.
And then the game kept...
I don't think I've ever heard in my life the opinion synchros or Xyzs are gonna kill the game. Ever. Maybe this is a TCG opinion or something, but Duel Links, I've never heard that whatsoever. I've got... Yeah, I did hear it a little bit around the Pendulum stuff, because Pendulum has always had a really big sort of hate towards it, which I agree. I think Pendulum is absolutely gross and don't like it at all, but even when they released the Pendulum world, they sort of released it with a ton of other summoning mechanics with it. They sort of didn't release it as a Pendulum world. They released it as just whatever the Arc V world was, with all these different summoning mechanics. Had like some fusion stuff, some think they had some synchro stuff, some Xyz stuff. It wasn't just a pendulum world, so I didn't really get that same sort of feeling from it. So the only real time that I think the Duel Links is dying sort of rhetoric was a little bit more justified was on the release of Master Duel, obviously. This summoning mechanic thing, I've literally never heard anyone say synchro or Xyz was going to kill Duel Links. I've never heard that, but
kept going on.
Links are gonna kill the game.
Rah, rah, rah.
I did hear that a little bit. I do admit there were some people that were not very happy about links being added, but it was a very small minority. Nothing compared to the amount of stuff that Rush Duel's gotten.
At the point, now people are saying that Rush Duel has killed the game. As if you're forced to play Rush Duel. You ain't forced to do shit, bro. Get your ass back onto Speed Duel and stop acting like it stopped existing because of another game's existence.
Okay. So I hate this sort of victimizing Rush Duel opinion. It is actually so annoying to hear because imagine, right, okay, you have 100 people, right? And every single year for like 7 years, these 100 people are given a cupcake, okay? Just a singular cupcake. Then at some point, they stop giving out the cupcakes and only give it to 25% of them. So just a small, tiny portion receives this cupcake. What do you think the other 75% of the community is going to do? They're just going to be like, oh, great. Why are we not receiving our cupcake every year anymore? Why is just this small portion receiving it? That's the Speed player base. We've had this game for 7 or 8 years, however long it's been out now. We've had this every single year, been given a brand new world. One of the most exciting things about the entire game every year. We only have 3 big moments every year. We have the anniversary worlds and the release of the brand new world. Worlds is in the World Championships. And had to have one of those just sort of stripped away from us, but not actually stripped away because a tiny portion of the community still gets something. Of course people are going to complain about it. We just got something taken away from us. It just feels like shit. So having this opinion that go back to your Speed content. Rush has done nothing wrong. It hasn't done anything. It doesn't even hurt you that it exists. It's well, it does because we're no longer getting something we were getting before. We just had that taken away from us. That's the whole point of it, right? It's not like Rush is actually... It's not like the Rush game mode is physically hurting me. It's the fact the Rush game mode is taking something away from It's taking something away from us. That's the whole point. We're no longer getting speed worlds for the last 2 years now. Or this year, and yeah.
Might not have been the addition of a new world that made you feel like the game is dying. Maybe there was a format you really didn't like, and Konami just refused to make any meaningful hits to the deck for multiple ban lists in a row. For me, that was Harpy's format. That shit was unbearable, bro. I was about done with Duel Links, with Harpy's just being better.
The only one that the only things I've had serious Duel Links might be dying sort of takes would be the Tachyon format. I think the Tachyon format was actually the worst format Duel Links has ever had by a long shot. I guess the small period we had the Floodgate format, but that was honestly a month long. It was tiny before we got a ban list for that. But Tachyon was the start of one of those really heinous formats. In the past, I've had tier 0 formats, but I haven't had anything that's actually maybe think Duel Links was dying or something.
Better than everything else.
I've certainly got a lot of comments.
You know what?
That,
the game didn't die. Power creep did eventually make Harpies more of a fair deck, and it was just a low point from my own personal experience that ended up fading away, and the game became much more fun for me. It can be really easy whenever things aren't enjoyable for you to get overly negative, and your mind might play tricks on you and make things out to be worse than they actually are, because negativity spreads way faster than positivity. I'm sure everybody watching has seen it before, but to be fair, that doesn't necessarily make the negativity invalid. Maybe, even though the Doom posters have never been right before, maybe this time they're finally onto something. Before I talk about what might validate the negativity, I have to say, this video isn't a shot at anybody who thinks or speaks
not a shot. I don't know. He's had my face in the background.
Negatively about Duel Links. Of course, Duel Links is no more or less deserving of criticism than any other game. Even I criticized this game, so please do not send any type of hate towards any of the creators that I'm going to be responding to today.
When was Rush Duel released? Was it this month? No, it wasn't later than that. It was this one. Was this Rush Duel release? The fact it's hard to spot where the Rush Duel release is it's very concerning.
Yeah. Banger point right there. The fact so it's hard to find where Rush Duel was released is, yeah, considering that was by one of the devs' own interviews. They said there was going to be Duel Links 2 sort of esque release. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like they want it to be a re-release of Duel Links is sort of what their quote was. And then it came out and it's like, we jumped at, we didn't really go up. We sort of just stayed the same.
So Rush Duel was released
There's a small
here. This
jump,
is your
Small
peak
jump.
Rush Duel world content. This is when the game got the huge new update that everyone was super excited about. They'll bring everyone in, got all the content creators. They got people like Hearthstone streamers and streamers from Magic and whatever other card games all on board to get everyone to come play this brand new format. And it peaked at 7k. In comparison, the one before it, I assume it must have been this one, September, nearly reached 10k. And all the other new worlds, well, that's when...
To give you the context, right? Nearly reaching 10k for a game that got absolutely completely playbase halved by Master Duel was pretty impressive. That is like, wow, we actually nearly brought the game back to a decent point. Maybe if they continued doing worlds along that thread, maybe the game would have actually started to grow again a little bit. Maybe.
Before Master was released,
don't
but
know.
you can see that 17,000 huge jumps. And the Rush world, well, nobody really cared.
First of all, Loom. Oh, thanks for the correction, Dan. Loam was talking about how...
Did he say... Wait, when did Dad call me Lob?
Oh, thanks for the correction, Dan. Loam was talking...
Wait, did he actually call me Loam? I just see that clip.
Really cared.
First of all, Loom. Oh, thanks for the correction, Dan.
God, I haven't seen that clip. I had to go find where...
Loam was talking about how ever since the release of Master Duel, the concurrent players of Duel Links have gone down dramatically, and it's gone down even further since the release of Rush Duels and Duel Links. In order to back up this claim, he shows a live record of concurrent players playing Duel Links. Sure enough, around the time that Master Duel was released, the concurrent players on Duel Links dropped down. And then, if you keep looking as time goes on, the average concurrent players definitely seems to be going down. And it goes up when Rush Duel comes, however it doesn't go as far up as when Vrains came. It looks, based on this information, as if the interest in Duel Links has decreased gradually over time. And that gradual decrease was happening before Rush Duel. So it continuing after the release of Rush Duel, to me, doesn't make it seem like Rush Duel is the cause. It makes it seem like the interest in the game overall has been decreasing, with the...
Okay, this is a... I don't know if he's... Okay, I don't know if he thinks this is like supporting his argument, but it definitely doesn't. The whole point is the Rush Duel world released, and the game went from stagnating to stagnating and dying. Like it was stagnating and dying before, and then after Rush, it was still stagnating and dying. Like, this doesn't help his point. It just shows that, wow, Sevens did literally nothing to help the game's health. It just released, people didn't really see it as being that good, and no one stuck around for it. Like, this doesn't help his claim at all. Yeah, Duel Links was going steadily down. That's why I like New Worlds, bringing people in and actually keeping them around, not bringing people in and the game they just leave again, or they just barely people come in the first place. Like, Vrains, it got a huge jump in player base. Isn't that what we want for every New World? Why would we want it to... Like, I don't know, his whole point makes it sound like we should keep releasing worlds and just let the game slowly die off without even trying to help it, without releasing worlds that are like really exciting, without trying to get people actually like sticking to the game and trying it out and coming to play. It sounds like he's just saying, yeah, Sevens, the Duel Links was going downhill, and Sevens didn't help that. I don't really see how this is meant to help his point at all. It just sounds like, yeah, no shit, Duel Links was dying and Sevens didn't help it. That's the point. Whereas Vrains, I think, actually did help it. And if we got more spikes like Vrains, that would actually be like, you know, signs that the game might have a chance to grow a little bit, you know?
Only
Especially
major
considering Vrains world was like, it was about a year, always about a year or whatever it was since between the Master Duel release and the Vrains world release or whatever, but yeah, but considering how close the Vrains world was to Master Duel and how many people have actually left Master Duel now, I feel like it would be, if we kept doing more and more worlds, we could have brought back some of those players that left, but anyway.
drop-off being when Master Duel released. Of course, the release of Rush Duel will have less players logging in all at once than the year earlier, because there are less people interested in the game in general than there was a year earlier. So at the very least...
No, I very much disagree with that. I think if we got another world as exciting as Vrains and stuff was, it would be just as exciting. If we got a Chronicle world, I think this spike would have been at the exact same, if not more. I 100% think so. I don't think... This was a Sevens issue. It was not a Vrains issue. It wasn't a just... Duel Links lost some players, but in the space of a year issue, no.
So at the very least, it's not Rush Duel's fault. But perhaps a new release that catered more to speed duel players would have jumped the game back up to having higher interest. So the fact that it was a whole new game rather than that could have itself slowed things down for dueling. All that being said, there is an important piece of information that I haven't revealed to you that Loom may not be aware of. But this information that he shows only applies to the Steam version of Duel Links. Let me be fair, okay? Steam is the only available service where we can actually see the concurrent players of a given game. Okay, we can't check the App Store or Google Play to see the concurrent players for Duel Links there. That being said, the fact that only one of the 3 providers of Duel Links is being measured here does mean that we are not getting a full picture here. Let's have a look at Google Play real quick. Of course, if you're American, you might not care about Google Play since Apple is more popular in the US, but even in the US, Apple has a market share of around 60%. There's still a large percentage of Android there, but worldwide, Android has around 70% of the market, so I'm not trying to hear you discrediting Android in the comments. If I go to Google Play right now, there is no concurrent players number I can see to find how many people are playing Duel Links on Android devices. And if I look at how many people have downloaded the app, that doesn't help me either, because that could all be downloads from before a potential falling off, and it could be people downloading the game and not really playing it actively. What we do have, however, is a grossing ranking. If you don't know, grossing essentially refers to how much money you make. As it turns out, Duel Links is the 10th best earning card game on Google Play. That's 1 rank above Hearthstone, and it's 4 ranks above Master Duel. Yeah, that's right. It's above Master Duel on Android. But wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. A phone game is doing better on phones than a PC game is doing on phones, and a PC game is doing better on PC than a phone game is doing on PC? That just doesn't add up. Except for that, it makes a lot of sense, actually. Now, this doesn't mean that Duel Links has more players than Master Duel. It only shows that on the phone, it's making more money than Master Duel. If the question is whether or not Duel Links is dying, then it's the amount of money the product makes that supports the future of Duel Links. If 5 people play Duel Links, but Duel Links still made a shitload of money, but Master Duel
Alright, I've had to explain this to a lot of people now, and this is like... Alright, let's bring out the notepad. I've had to explain this to a lot of people now. Yes. Oh, that's what's that one from? It's one of my stories, I think. Oh yeah, that's one of my story video script from a while ago, I think. Anyway. Alright, this isn't... Wait, I don't want notepad, I want paint. Paint's better. Alright. So let me try to explain this as best as I can. I'm not a business person or a market person or anything like that, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. Okay, so when you have a company, right, let me get the big brush out. How do you make the brush size bigger? Does that work? Just a pen brush. All right, when you have a company, right, you have your Konami, all right? God, that looks so bad. You have your Konami, okay? They invest some resources. We'll make a little square here. They invest resources in order to make a profit. Okay? Pretty straightforward stuff. Konami invests in resources to make a profit. That's the goal. Alright? And let's say they did that for quite a while. Many years, they were investing in resources and getting tons and tons of profit, and it was looking really good. Lots of green arrows, lots of, yeah, we're doing well. Then they did it again on a following year, investing the same resources. And this time around, they got less profit, so it was a small dollar sign. Let's say this was 5 million or something, some big number, blah, 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 lots of zeros. And this was now 3 million or 2 million, a little bit less. 2 million, so slightly less. Lots of zeros, blah, blah, blah. So now you might think, what's the issue here? They still made, and this, we're talking about profit, right? They still made $2 million. Why would they be sad about that? Why was there's no complaints? They're still making money. That's not how big companies work. Big companies don't look and say, oh, we made some money this year, we're doing good. They look to see up and down arrows, right? They would see a big, huge red arrow here. Okay? Big companies, their entire goal is, over the course of like each time period, they want to increase their profit margins. They want to make the money go upwards. They want to keep making more and more money every year. They don't want to see a big red arrow of something going down. Just because something is making money doesn't mean a company is still going to continue investing into it. They would say this is just a hypothetical. At some point, Konami might look at Duel Links and be like, okay, well, this game is no longer increasing our profit margins. In fact, it's now going to be decreasing them. that's a big red flag. So maybe this business venture here, we should take these resources and we should allocate them somewhere else, somewhere where we could make potentially a bigger profit, or somewhere we can actually make these arrows turn green again. For example, maybe they take this is completely just out, like, beyond hypothetical. Let's say they took the entire Duel Links team and they invested it into Master Duel to give it a bigger, to give them more game modes or something. Just like something like that. They allocate the resources somewhere else, they dump them into Master Duel, because they think maybe Master Duel has the potential to earn a shit ton more profits, and they just increase their goals extra mental. I can't. English is hard. They just increase the goals a bunch. So basically, just to reiterate, just because a game makes money doesn't mean it's going to be something they're interested in continuing investing into. They want the arrows to be green, not the arrows to be red. So profit margins going down and their goals going down is not what they want to see. They want to see up arrows, not down arrows. Hopefully I explained that as best I can, but yeah, hopefully I explained that. So I see this argument a lot. Duel Links is still making tons of money. Yeah, it's making less and less every single time they release stuff like Rush Duel, which is not going to make Konami happy. Eventually going to take those resources and put them into a bigger business venture, because they want to see up arrows, not down.
Had 50 players and made less money than Duel Links, then if you consider Master Duel to not...
Also, it's this whole thing about trying to compare Master Duel and Duel Links is incredibly difficult, because they're basically two separate platforms. He did sort of cover that in this video a bit, but to my understanding, from what I've heard from people that are a bit more into like the behind the scenes of apps and stuff, Master Duel makes a shit ton more than Duel Links, like a shit ton more. So that's what I know. That's what I've heard. At least I'm pretty confident in saying that. Maybe someone who's actually got the who's actually paid into like Sensor Tower or something can give me a. I'm pretty sure I could look it up on Sensor Tower real quick actually. I can't be bothered. You can look it up yourself. I'm pretty certain Master Duel makes a shit ton more than Duel Links. I think that's just a fact.
Not be dying while making less
Especially
money.
Especially around anniversary
times. Then Duel Links is also not dying.
They're literally going to be adding a world that is unfinished. A world that is already going to be seeing very little interest because it's Rush, and we already know Rush is seeing very little interest in Duel Links, like extremely low interest. It's such a dead format. Like, if I just check my own channel viewership-wise, I stopped uploading Rush Duel months ago because it was awful. No one was watching the videos. People had zero interest in it. Actually no interest. Which had 12k, actually a decent amount. These two actually did alright. Some decent viewership on these. Harpies was so good because it's actually a free deck. I don't know, man. You don't think they'll find a way. Okay, that wasn't the greatest example. The thing is, I showed Blue Eyes, which it was Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes was bound to do well. Just like I think the early Elemental Heroes for Rush Duel might do well, and the early Cyber Dragon's probably going to do well for Rush Duel, just because those art types are just the actual hype anime art types. But it's not. The fact I actually try to like prove this is so annoying. It's very clear. Here's your top decks for speed. These are people that are submitting deck lists last 2 weeks. 200 people for tournaments have been submitting deck lists for speed, and we've got all the 99 from COG, all that kind of stuff. And let's check how much interest there was in Rush Duel tournaments and Rush Duel COGs and stuff. We've gone down to 24 from tournaments and only 38 COG submissions. So we went from what? Nearly 100 COG submissions, 200 tournament results, to 24 and 38. Like, anyone that actually pays any attention to streams like Grand Harrier's stream or just any tournament streams, you see the amount of people that join your tournaments. There's about 150 people that sign up to Harrier's tournament every week for speed. For Rush, that's like 50 is like a peak. It isn't like a secret that Speed Duel is so much bigger in terms of interest than Rush Duel. It's not even like comparable. It just isn't. I remember, especially it was actually pretty close to the release of the Speed Duel of the Rush Duel world. I was hosting point battles for Rush Duel to try to get people to join the point battle tournaments, because I normally do, or don't do it as often anymore, but I used to do like point battle tournaments every so often for Speed Duel to get people to come play. And they did fairly well, had decent turnout. Normally it's anywhere between like 70 to, sometimes at that point it was even capping out, reaching the 400 players. Then I tried it for Rush Duel, and this was pretty close to the release of the world, and no one was showing up. I was getting 30 people to enter the room. And it took me like legitimately begging the chat to join the tournament so we had players. Like, I was actually just like, please come and play. I don't care what you play, just come play so we have some people playing. And that was pretty bad too, because if you're begging people to join your tournament, over the course of time, considering it's a point battle tournament, so it's like a KC Cup style format, no one was even playing to the end of it. They were just dropping out halfway through, and we were left with like 15 people just dueling it out. That's all we had. That was my experience with Rush Duel. It has been... Another huge example is a few months ago when I was actually playing Rush Duel, and I was actually in Kia Games. I got to Kia Games. I wanted to make a video for one of the new decks, or one of the things. I think it was the update of Royal Rebels, their new box thing that came out, the mini box for that. So I want to make a video on that. So inside Kia Games, I tried to queue up a match just for content to then put into a video. It took me about 30 seconds to find a game. That's not exaggerating. It took me 30 seconds to find a match. Now, keep in mind, 30 seconds might sound like a small amount of time. 30 seconds is like nothing, right? 30 seconds in a game where your queue time should be this is a problem. If you've ever queued up for Speed Duel, count how many seconds it takes to find a match. There is never a doubt. I don't know what the current sort of consensus is for Insider Kia Games for Speed Duel, or for Rush Duel, because obviously haven't been in there for a couple of months. But when I was queuing, I was trying to get content. It took me over 30 seconds to find a game. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible for a game like this. We only need one other player. Maybe it's because I wasn't queuing at peak hours, which again shouldn't be a problem. You need to find one other player. One. And it took me that long to find a match. It's so apparent that Speed Duel has got more viewership than... oh my god, there's so many examples I want to show actually for this. Let's have a look at when the actual Speed Duel... Wait, the Rush Duel... This might be a hard stat to find, actually. Might have to have people just fact check for me rather than have me show it, because it might be too hard to find. Alright, so these are the two unreleased decks, right? I think these are the unreleased decks. Having 12k and 11k, and the initial one, so the biggest one, this was the very first video for Rush. The very first video had 22,000 views, which is like, that's pretty decent for the very first deck they released. Then the other two had barely reached 10k, which is a little bit concerning, considering this is meant to be the brand new format that everyone's meant to be excited for. And then, I mean, compare that to... Oh my god, there's no way I can find the Brains World stuff, right? Here you go. Goki released, Salad released, 30k! This wasn't even the first video I uploaded. Pretty sure Salad was the first I uploaded. 30k for that! And then keep in mind, this is after Master Duel releases. This is the same thing, where they had the New Worlds, compare it, the New Worlds. Brains had 30k views for the video, that's crazy. Videos, combo tutorials before the world released were getting 13,000 views. Compare that to the amount of people... I'm getting so sidetracked here. Oh, where is it? I did a bunch of videos based on, like, previews for stuff that was leaked. Oh, here we go. Like, all the leaked Rush Duel stuff was 7,000 views. Like, no one was interested. Alright, it's just like, we had the, Rush gameplay, under 10k again. We had... A pack opening stream had 3,000 views. Look at my normal pack opening streams. They have double that. This is current world, so it's like, it's I don't know. I'm getting sidetracked here. Point is, it's very apparent, I shouldn't have to defend this, that Rush has less players than Duel Links and way less interest than Speed Duel. Has way less. It's obvious. Anyway, keep this game alive. They haven't tried so far. They're releasing on the Rush Duel world. I've seen no evidence to show they're trying to keep the game alive.
One of the major issues people have with Rush is that it's too simple of a game. But I've heard from Rush players that the game has had a lot more power creep, so it may be more enjoyable to that crowd once the new Rush world comes out. As far as it's somehow ruining speed duels, well, speed...
Okay, so I should really stop pausing, but that was a point I never really brought up. The point is, people never really had a huge amount of interest in Rush Duel. There's a reason that when the new world released for Rush Duel, there wasn't actually that many people that tried it. There just wasn't that many people. If they added, like, I don't know, they literally had to add something like the Rush Duel cards were craftable to actually have that enough interest to actually play the format. Because it's not... Okay, Rush Duel isn't in the West. The West don't have it. So the only place where there was a tons of interest in Rush Duel, which there actually is a decent amount, I think it's in the top 10 most selling card games in Japan. It's not even just for Yu-Gi-Oh!, just the Rush Duel side is in the top 10 in Japan. That's the only place where people actually really have interest in Rush Duel, because the entire rest of the West don't have the card game IRL, never have, so there's no interest in it. Even the anime, I'm pretty sure to get the dubbed version, you have to pirate it? Actually, I'm not sure about that completely, but I'm pretty sure the actual, like, dubbed version isn't available here or something. I saw, like, Brad talking about in Discord, the only way to actually watch the new seasons was illegally or something. I don't know. Someone could fact check me on that or type it in the comments somewhere.
Duel still exists,
like that.
and the format isn't impacted by the existence of Rush Duel any more than Magic the Gathering isn't impacted by
This is also a very stupid statement. It is impacted because we didn't get a new world. So all those new cards, all those new features, all that stuff that could have been really exciting for the format just never came. That's the whole point. That's a non-point. Like, okay.
If you feel forced to play Rush Duel, bruh, that's on you. Speed Duel is literally right there if you want to play it. There is nothing...
Yes, it is right there, but it's right there with less content than it could have had, because that's the whole point. We're getting stuff taken away that we didn't have, that we used to be getting, we're now not getting anymore. That is the whole point.
Stopping you, bro. And there's nothing forcing you to play Rush. At the same time, the growing complication of Speed Duel has some people feeling left behind. So being able to go convert to Rush Duel is something a lot of players really appreciate. The fact that Speed and
A lot of players. Not true. We've already clarified. It's got way less interest in Speed by a long shot. It's not even close.
Rush both you.
Rush Duel should have always been treated as a side format, not a main format, which is what they're trying to, like, they're putting it as like a main format along with Speed, which is not working. The new stuff they're releasing for Rush with the whole, they're advertising the Elemental Hero stuff and the Cyber Dragon stuff. I think that stuff actually has a really good chance of actually bringing people into Rush, so maybe it's more successful after this, but I don't know. They could have just done a Chronicle World and just guaranteed been successful, but anyway. Or added crafting or something.
Use the same currency is a bit of a weird idea, to be sure. But if you like Rush, then you can have a whole new account and use the year's worth of gems from Speed Worlds to get all the Rush
argument. They haven't tried so far. They're releasing another Rush Duel world. I've seen no evidence to show they're trying to keep the game alive.
The idea that Konami no longer cares about Duel Links or no longer sees the value in improving Duel Links obviously didn't age very well, considering that we got news of Duel Links getting a visual overhaul in October. This news was after this stream. However, there were signs. We got an announcement notifying that there would be a new minimum operating system requirement for Androids to be able to continue playing Duel Links. It doesn't really matter what kind of efforts they're going to upgrade the game. The fact of the matter is that if you're raising the minimum strength of device for your game, you are making efforts to improve the game. Therefore, Konami does see the value in improving Duel Links, as they're literally doing it. They never need...
I also don't think this is necessarily like a good point, because the dev team has to be doing something, right? It's not like they'd have a bunch of devs there working on the game and they just be like, all right, guys, just stop working on the game, and they're still trying to keep it alive somewhat. The point is that to me, it looks like the game they're not putting active efforts into regrowing the game or trying to do some big, huge overhaul to add things like crafting, which I've brought this up several times, but crafting, if they add that to the game, oh boy, there'll be a big influx of people from Master Duel coming over. But if they wanted to do an actual thing to keep the game healthy, or like actually put loads of effort into it, they could do that. They could do it instead of doing a tiny UI update, because let's be real, the UI update is just a sort of a visual thing where they've changed a couple of the spots for things. Instead of doing that, they could actually do an overhaul of the game, something the game has been needing for, like, I don't know if you guys have ever played tons of other mobile games, but there are so many examples of other mobile games where once they've reached like a certain period of time, like 5 or 6 years, they get a huge overhaul and a big, huge, like, everything just gets changed and how like features and stuff is all updated. Duel Links has never had that. This is the closest thing we've had, is what we just got. We've got a little UI update, which didn't add any actual new features. We are getting a new rarity, but you get what I mean, right? Like, if they actually were showing huge interest in keeping this game alive, they could do so. Tons of features could be added. Specifically, I've mentioned this a billion times, crafting could be added, because that would actually 100% bring players over, but Yeah, to me, it looks like they're just coasting along at the moment. That's what it looks like to me. Not a whole lot of effort's going into it, just coasting along is what it looks like.
Needed to increase the minimum for just adding worlds.
That's just a personal opinion, so you can I can see his point of view too, where maybe it looks like they are putting some effort into keeping the game alive, or a decent chunk of effort. Maybe the new UI stuff is a good sign. They're actually putting a more effort into it than normal, which I guess is true.
So adding a new Go Rush world doesn't really account for this, especially when the Rush Duel mechanic is already in Duel Links. Maybe he didn't see the notification, so that's alright. He might have just not seen all the information. And
I'm pretty certain they've done these like core app, not quite. This is like a minimum requirement updates tons of times over time. So
I think that Loom has bad intentions with any of his points. He is looking at the information he already has and he's making his own conclusions, and I'm providing more information to express my own conclusions.
Is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links dead forever? Or shall we add it to the graveyard of the cross?
So YT Dan is one of my favorite Yu-Gi tubers, and he isn't the only one who's made a comparison between Duel Links and Cross Duels. The fact that Konami released a game and it didn't succeed, so they had to cancel it, is having people wondering if they would be willing to do the same thing for Duel Links. Look, guys,
I think Cross Duel actually has quite a good example of what I was talking about earlier, where just because something was making money doesn't mean they're necessarily going to keep it around. Cross Duel, I'm pretty certain made a profit. But they closed it because it wasn't reaching their goals. Same could happen to Duel Links, for example, where it no longer reaches their specific goal, so they allocate the resources elsewhere.
Guys, let's be honest with one another, you and me. We both know not a goddamn person played Cross Duel in the first place. There was no player base of loyal customers to protect the investments.
I'm pretty sure it still made a profit. I'm pretty sure. I may have torn out my art, so I don't know what the actual cost was to produce Cross Duel. It had actually a ton of animations and stuff in the game, so maybe it was a much higher budget than I expected. But I think the amount of money the game made initially might have been enough to cover it, to the point where it made a profit.
No passive income they were making from the game to lose.
But yeah, passive income
could just half-assedly release a bunch of skills and boxes without much thought and still make a bunch of money for years. I know some of you think that's what's happening currently, and as we've seen already, this game is still making bank. Of course, YT Dan is only just now getting back into Duel Links, still getting his feet wet, so there's no problem with not having all of the pieces of the puzzle right away. I've been playing this game since the first year, man, and after all this time, I've learned that whenever people are doom posting, you shouldn't be taking it that seriously, because it always goes the exact same way. People talking about the game dying, and then the game not actually dying. There are a bunch of people that deadass think this game...
Like, again, I said at the start of the video where I was sort of exaggerating, which I was. I don't actually think Duel Links is going to end a service within a year. That'd be pretty devastating if it did. But the whole point is the fact that it's a downward trajectory and it hasn't been any real effort to make that trajectory go upwards. They tried Rush Duel and it didn't go upwards, despite the creators saying they were trying to do like a I can't remember the exact quote. I wish I could. They were trying to make it so there was like a re-release, or like the new release of for Duel Links, and it didn't really do that. So rather than trying to do something else different again, they're just double downing on Rush. Just shows like it's a downwards trajectory, and it hasn't shown any chance of going upwards by trying something new or adding something actually new, not just repeating the same mistake they did last year. They're just gonna do Rush again. Like, why not do a Chronicle world? Why not add crafting? Why not try something actually different? A character world, a monster world, a manga world. That would have been amazing. I know tons of people would have loved a manga world. Even without them being that many like manga stuff over here, it would have been amazing to have that, but whatever.
Game has been dying for years. If it's taking years to die, then it isn't dying. By that logic, a baby is in critical condition as soon as it's born. For me, Duel Links is the most fun format.
I mean, this is a very nitpick, but I mean, I think dying's more when you stop. I'm not. Let's keep going.
Ban list actually solve problems in this game. There are a lot of decks you can be successful with in this game, and most importantly, there's no mini game at the start of the duel, seeing who has Maxi, who has the out to Maxi, who has the out to Maxi. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna play me some
point of the video.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me?
Don't fucking DMCA me, please. Copyright me, I mean. Alright, so that is the video. Yeah, so I think this reaction went on for 40 minutes. Oh my god. Yeah, I think I sort of got my points across, as well as he got his points across. yeah, I guess to reiterate, just saying, I don't think Duel Links is necessarily actually going to die soon, but the fact that it's going down and continues to go down isn't like a good sign. They should really be trying to make that arrow go upwards so that the profits start going upwards again, and maybe they want to keep it around a bit longer. Because even if like it doesn't have to necessarily reach its initial highs that Duel Links had, but if there was some way to actually show that, hey, we're actually gaining more, making more profit than normal, then maybe they'll be willing to keep it around a bit longer, put more resource into it rather than taking more resources out of it, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, end of the day, shoutouts to Team 6K. It was a pretty good video. Go check out his channel and stuff. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, laters.